Thank you very much for coming on Saturday. So my name is Geertjan. It's a Dutch name, so it's almost impossible to pronounce if you're not Dutch. So if you want, you can say GJ. It's also possible. I have been involved in the NetBeans project since 2004. So I was working for Sun Microsystems for several years, and then Oracle took over Sun, and I was part of the acquisition, and I'm part of Oracle, just like Vladimir as well. And I'm still working on NetBeans. Originally, when I started working on it in 2004, I was one of the technical writers, so I wrote tutorials and help. When you pressed F1 in NetBeans, you read my work. And but in the meantime, I'm one of the product managers of NetBeans, but also of another project that I want to talk about, which is also free and open source, which is Oracle Jet, one of the topics for today. In this first session, I want to give an overview of NetBeans, talk about the history of NetBeans, the underlying philosophy, how it is different to other IDEs and tools. I want to show you some unique features of NetBeans. I will do a little bit of demonstrations so that you can see some of the things that I think are valuable. And I want to talk about the community around it and the different projects that have to do with NetBeans. So that's the agenda. The logo of NetBeans, the slogan, for many years has been the smarter and faster way to code. And those two words, smarter and faster, are there for a reason, because it's not just about coding quickly, it's also about doing it in a smart way, so that you have debuggers and profilers and different kinds of analyzers that are all built in, but also fast. So all those things that you can do quickly, thanks to, for example, all the Java specifications, everything is specified. So it's a question of generating that code. So on the one hand, it's fast via templates and code generators and wizards, and that's really one aspect of it. And the other aspect is smart. So not just generating heaps of code stupidly in a big stack, but doing it in a smart way, structuring it in a smart way, and letting you analyze that code. That's been the slogan for a long time, but in the meantime, we've changed it a bit through the community, and now it is fits the pieces together, which doesn't mean that it's not smart and fast anymore. It's smart and fast, and it fits pieces together. And what we mean by that is two different things. The one is that with programming, for example, in Java, you have many different things that you need to do. You need to create the application somehow and structure it. You need to edit it, you need to develop it further, and you need to debug it, you need to profile it, and you need to test it, and you need to deploy it, and all these different tasks. And there are hundreds of small tools that you can use to do that with. But what makes NetBeans special, or one of the things that makes it special, is that it combines all of those tools into one single workflow. So it fits the pieces together of the coding experience. Originally focused on Java, but now increasingly also on JavaScript and HTML. So that's one aspect of fitting the pieces together. But the second aspect is it fits communities together. So we're having these NetBeans events like this all over the world. Our plan is to have a NetBeans Day somewhere in the world every month. So in February, we had NetBeans Day Netherlands, March, NetBeans Day Germany, now NetBeans Day India, and we have NetBeans Day UK coming up, France, Sweden, many countries, and we want to have at least one NetBeans event every month. And we want to do that every year. So what I think would be great is if we had at least one event like this in India every year. So every time that there's GIDS, I can come here, and then before GIDS, we can do this event like this again. And every time have more and more people and do more and more activities and build from the previous times and not focus on beginner topics every time, but get to more advanced themes. And in some of the NetBeans days, we have different tracks. We started with one room, and then there were different tracks in the end and different kinds of workshops and more speakers. And also because GIDS is next week, we can in the future ask speakers from GIDS to come to this event as well, because they're already here. So all these different things is also fitting the pieces together of the communities and the groups around Java and around development. So that's the underlying idea, that the core idea of NetBeans is fitting pieces together of the development process and the communities around it. And this is also why I like open source a lot, because with open source communities, people are very enthusiastic because there's no money involved. No matter how much you use NetBeans, Oracle will earn no extra money. You know, you're not paying. It's all free. It's all open source. It's all about being nice to each other and sharing information and sharing code and sharing experiences. That's all we're trying to do. So the next point is I want to talk about where NetBeans comes from, the history of NetBeans, and then what its unique features are of NetBeans itself, and talk a bit about the different ways you can use it, and then about the community and how you can get involved. So the history of NetBeans starts with this picture. Does anyone know where this is?
Czech Republic?
Yes, Czech Republic. This is Prague in the Czech Republic, and this is where NetBeans started. So in about 96, 97, there was a group of students. Originally, this NetBeans is a student project. 96, 97, there was a group of students, especially the guy with the heavy metal look and feel in the front row with the long hair. That's Jaroslav Tulach, the NetBeans API architect. A group of students decided for the end of year project that they would make a tool for this cool new language Java, which in 96, 97 was the cool new language. And there wasn't an editor yet at that point. There was no editor, there was no integrated development environment, there was just the language. And Sun at that time didn't have an official tool for this language. And people were just using text editors and command line and things like that. And they thought, hey, it would be nice to create an integrated environment for creating Java applications. And because they were students, they thought it would be a nice meta idea to create this application in Java. So an application for Java in Java. And I thought this would be a nice, cool idea. And so they started creating this tool. And they went to a conference and they demonstrated the tool. And one of the people at the conference was James Gosling, who created Java. One of the people who created Java. And they saw a demonstration, and and James Gosling and Jonathan Schwartz, who was later the CEO of Sun, said, hey, well, this is cool. These students have created a tool for our language. Let's buy this group, let's buy this product and include it in our organization. So the student project and the students who had formed their own company were bought by Sun, and the project was open sourced. It wasn't open source at that time. They were just creating an editor and an IDE. So it was made an official project. It was open source from the beginning. And the idea behind open sourcing it is that you can't really make money from tools on the one hand. And on the other hand, what's important is that people learn Java. And if you say to them, first you have to pay $100 to buy the tool to learn Java, people will say, well, there's 5,000 other languages. I'll rather learn some other language. So it doesn't make sense to try to make money, I think, from that point of view, from tools for languages. So it was free from the beginning, was open source from the beginning. All the development continued to happen in Prague, in Czech Republic. Probably 95% of development still happens there. And I lived there myself for about 5 or 6 years. When I started in NetBeans, now I work from home in Amsterdam. But that's where I've worked in that group for quite a while. And that's where it began. And then Oracle at some point, bought Sun. And so NetBeans became part of Oracle. And Oracle sees NetBeans in the same way. It's important to have tools that are free to support Java and to get people started learning Java. And that's the role of NetBeans within Oracle. So who are the users? There are many users around the world, big companies, small companies. The most famous user is still James Gosling, the founder of Java, who uses NetBeans all the time, and he talks about it at conferences. Many companies, NASA, the European Space Agency, Boeing, big companies, small companies, startups, library curators, like if you use Prime Faces for JSF development, Prime Faces itself is created in NetBeans. Many schools and universities use NetBeans because it's free and it's very easy to get started with. So this is actually one of the unique features of NetBeans. When you download it and you install it, you can immediately do pretty advanced development. You don't have to spend 3 months looking for plugins for basic features, and then they don't fit together so well, those plugins. And also the nice thing about having one big company like Oracle behind it is that everything is consistent, and it's not, doesn't look like it's being created by 5,000 different companies, but it's by one organization. So it's got this consistent look and feel. So also JFreeChart is another example, but many different organizations make use of it. So that's a little bit about the background. So many users, NetBeans isn't the most popular IDE in the world. Eclipse isn't, IntelliJ isn't. There are so many choices at the moment that no one can say, well, this is the most popular or this is the most popular. I've seen some analysis of the most popular IDEs. I never believe it, because you are never able to ask companies like Boeing, which IDE, which tools do you use? They'll say, well, we're not going to tell you. It's secret information. There are many large organizations that don't share their information. So there's a segment of software companies that will never be in the analysis results. So if you see some results saying, oh, this is the most popular of an IDE or of even of a language, then you should really ask, where does that information come from? And often it is from looking on GitHub or looking on Stack Overflow. Most questions are asked about Java on Stack Overflow, and therefore Java is the most popular language. Sometimes they say that. Or maybe it means Java is the most confusing language because people are asking the most questions. Or they say, well, the most code on GitHub is Java, therefore Java is the most popular. Well, a lot of code isn't on GitHub. If you're doing work at Boeing or in Defense Force or in these kinds of organizations, you don't put your code on GitHub. So all this analysis I find very dubious. For me, what is important is how active is the community around a particular product. And when you compare NetBeans on Facebook, NetBeans on Twitter, NetBeans on these different social media sites with other IDEs and tools, then NetBeans is by far the most popular IDE or tool, partly because it's open source, because it's got a long history of working with the community. We're setting up these NetBeans days all over the world, these kinds of things. We're really building the community constantly. I can show you the Facebook results and Twitter and whatever, and you see that that this is true. So that's a bit of the background of NetBeans, where it comes from, its history, and the slogan, and now a little bit about what is unique about it. So there are many IDEs and tools. What's unique about NetBeans? First of all, it's free and open source, and this is not true for all the IDEs and tools out there. So you can go to the NetBeans Mercurial repository, and all the code is there. Which is nice because, and it's open source, so in theory you could clone it, and you could, it's a nice guarantee for a lot of large organizations, because they say, well, Oracle is a company that earns money. NetBeans doesn't earn any money. If Oracle has to cut staff anywhere or cut products anywhere, one of the first ones should be NetBeans, because it doesn't earn any money. And then I say, well, I don't think that's true, because NetBeans enables so much work that's done by Oracle, and enables Java, enables Jet, and many other projects. But if that were to happen, because it's open source, not a problem. You could check it into your own repository, or we could set up an Apache project or some other kind of project and put NetBeans in there and continue developing it. It's really a nice guarantee. So that's a first unique feature. The second unique feature is called the out-of-the-box experience. This has always been a very strong feature of NetBeans. So as soon as you've downloaded it, you've installed it, you can start developing advanced Java applications. You have Glassfish included, you have Tomcat included for enterprise applications. The whole Java EE spec is included by different wizards and code generators. Everything is there immediately. You don't. There's a big plugin community, and there are many great plugins. But for the standard development that you want to do, it's all there. And then sometimes people say, yes, but Eclipse has many more plugins than NetBeans, and it's true. And then you look at what are the most popular Eclipse plugins. Maven, okay, that's already in NetBeans. And then GitHub for Eclipse, that's already in NetBeans. NetBeans needs less plugins in its plugin repository because those kinds of features are a standard part of NetBeans. So GitHub is integrated into NetBeans, Mercurial, Subversion, CVS, and then Maven and Ant, and there's a Gradle plugin that's really great. So all these different build tools and servers and these kinds of things are all integrated automatically. So that's the second unique feature, this constant focus on having the important features available immediately. The third one is also very important. It is the official IDE for the Java platform. So when you go to oracle.com and you download the JDK, there's an option, do you want to include NetBeans? And so Oracle sees NetBeans as providing the tools for the latest version of the JDK. So when JDK 7 was released, there was NetBeans 7, JDK 8, NetBeans 8. When there's JDK 9, there will be NetBeans 9. So it supports the JDK with the latest tools for the latest JDK. Otherwise, you just have a JDK. You don't have an editor. You don't have tools to use it with. And the next 2 points are very important as well. Maven. So most people, when they switch from a different IDE or tool to NetBeans, do so because of its Maven integration. It's very interesting. This is people keep saying NetBeans needs to talk more about its Maven support because the Maven integration is really amazing. And I want to do a very small demo of this. So I have here a Maven project. And you can see that because it's got a POM file. And if I didn't have, if I didn't have this open, so let's close it. So let's go to the favorites window. Just remove all of this stuff. Or actually, I'll look on disk. Go on disk to that folder. So here we see a typical Maven project. It's a standard Maven project. So it's got a target folder, a source folder, there's a POM file, and there's a configuration file. This is a NetBeans specific configuration file with settings that you can share with other developers on your team. But we don't even need this. So imagine I had checked out from GitHub a standard Maven project. This is what it would look like, right? I've gone to GitHub, I've done a checkout, and I have this these folders. Or I wouldn't have targets either if I did a checkout from Git. So this is what I would have. Now, normally in an IDE, you would go to File, Import Project, and then you would point to this folder, and you would go through 10 different steps, and then your IDE would throw in some stuff into that folder to force it to be a project, and then it would be opened into that IDE. So, but in the case of NetBeans, we just go to Open Project, and we go to that folder. So I'll go one level up so we can see it. And so this one is called Customer App. And you can see here, NetBeans automatically recognizes Customer App because it has a POM file. So now I say Open, and NetBeans opens the project. And there it is, and it looks exactly the same as before I opened it. Nothing was thrown in, no garbage to make it a NetBeans project was thrown in. This is just some configuration stuff that we can share with other developers, some common settings or something, again in an XML format. So here some common settings and things like that that you can share with other people. But it's not there to make it a project. So now it is open. Now you have all these commands like build and clean and build with dependencies. Now what do these do? And you can see that when you go to properties. There's here the actions tab. You can see the build project is mapped to the Maven install goal of this project. And clean project is mapped to Maven clean. And clean and build is clean and install. So all the project commands are mapped to the goals within this particular POM. So I have this build project is install. Now, at the same time, when I do a run, so build is, there's a keyboard shortcut for build and there's a keyboard shortcut for run. So you can see here, run project is F6. So that means when I press F6, what I am actually doing is I'm calling Maven install on the current project. Now that's pretty advanced integration. So if I had multiple projects open, whichever one is currently selected, when I press F6, what I'm doing is I'm calling the Maven install go in that particular pump file in that particular project. So in a way, somebody at a conference said NetBeans is a dumb IDE. And it's true. It's just like a shell around the Maven application that is on your disk. And it's just a cover. It's not, when you do build and run on these things, you're not calling some secret NetBeans stuff. You're calling completely the command line stuff that you would call with Maven. And the same support is there for Gradle. You would install a plugin for that, but it's built on top of the same infrastructure. So there's an API that provides this kind of infrastructure, and it's been implemented for Maven. And that same, because it's open source. So there's a guy, actually, it's not a NetBeans team member, but there's a guy in Hungary who looked at the source code for the Maven integration and just copied it and then rewrote it for Gradle, and it works the same way. There's a Gradle build file that if that is inside of a folder, then that plugin will recognize that folder as a Gradle project, and you can open it, and then you can run commands that are defined in that Gradle build file. So these are the things that are really nice, and that make NetBeans a must-have if you're doing Maven development, really. There's also, yeah, so, and there's more. So if we have the POM open, you can see that inside of the version element in the POM, we can see what all the available versions are. So right now I can see, okay, so I'm on 2.5.2, probably not the most recent release. There's about 10 other ones up here. So for each of these attributes, I can see the available versions within the code completion. And also, if you have REST endpoints, this is also very useful. You can immediately see, okay, so these are the entry points into my application. These are the REST endpoints that provide the entry points in this application. Okay, here they are. And I can run those methods directly from here. So this is really one of the unique features of NetBeans, this very smooth Maven integration. If you're using Maven, NetBeans is free. Why not include NetBeans on your system? And when you're doing Maven development, just take a look how NetBeans works with Maven and give it a try. So this is the first really cool thing. The second cool thing is HTML5. And I want to show this in a small demo. There's a bunch of new support. So there's Node.js. If you're using Node.js on the back end, I'll show you a small demo of that. But I'll create a front-end application, just pure HTML5. Hello, JUG. Next. And you can see that we can use Angular. There's great Angular integration. Angular team is one of our partners. So if you're doing Angular, look at NetBeans because we have great stuff for that. But I'll create a completely new empty HTML5 project, and this has an index file and nothing else. Okay, so I run this, and I'll open this into Chrome. And so not very exciting yet, right? So let's make a change. I make from div to h1. I do Control S to save it, and immediately I don't have to refresh the browser. Very small thing, but you can see here there's this NetBeans icon here, and this is provided by a plugin from Chrome that you can install into Chrome. So if you go to settings and extensions, you'll see that I have here NetBeans connector 1.1.5, very important. That's the release. So I go to Chrome, NetBeans, and look in here, you can see that there are 360,000 users of this plugin. Now I can compare this to the equivalent plugin for JetBrains. It's all public information. This is an interesting statistic. JetBrains IDE support. So NetBeans was 360,000, and JetBrains is under 300,000. So maybe an indicator that NetBeans is quite widely used. Here is this in the browser. Wait, let me run it again. This other stuff is kind of getting in my way a little bit. Okay, here it is. Okay. Okay, now I'm going to make NetBeans a bit smaller, so we can put them next to each other. So this also has a nice thing that we can see. Okay, this would look like this on smartphone portrait. Looks like this. Okay, I'm going to move them next to each other so we can see what happens at the same time. We don't have to switch between them. This one. Come. This is a small weird thing in this browser that I can't make it smaller. Okay, fine. So it's fine. So here we can see this one next to that one. And in NetBeans, I've pressed Control-Shift-Enter, which is like makes it look like a text editor. It removes all that stuff around it, and especially nice if you just want to do coding. You don't want to have all that noise. And so here is just like a text editor with, of course, code completion and full editor functionality of an IDE. So I have them next to each other, and okay, so here they are. Let's add. So let's first of all look at this nice integration here. If I show the browser DOM, and I connect them to, so you can see my mouse is in the bottom left. Okay. And as I move up and down, I can see in the browser something's changing. Okay, so I'll add a few more. So here's 3 of them. So now I'm selecting the second one in the window on the left, and I can see that one selected in the browser. The other way around as well. So often you're in the browser and you've inherited a project from somebody else, and you don't understand how it works. There's images in the browser. Where are those images from? So you can click on items in the browser and see the live DOM directly in NetBeans. So now I can go from here. So this wouldn't be open, right? I have a large application. So I click on this, click on it here, so that thing opens. I go into the source, I get to the exact line. Now let's add a style sheet. Styles. H1. And I'll say color. Again, you can see here, code completion. Plus, in the bottom, you can see which of the browsers supports the CSS attribute that I'm using. Also very powerful, of course. So let's say color, and a color chooser, red. And is this correct, or is it font color, background color? Can't remember. Oh, hang on, I didn't actually add it. Never mind. It's color. Okay, so now we have set this. And we want to apply the CSS to the file. So I can drag and drop. Okay, there it is. So you can drag anything from here and drop it into any file. Okay, so now it's all red. And so let's make this one. On the left-hand side, so I press Control-R, left-hand side, I type H2. And you will see on the right-hand side, it automatically changes as well. So these kinds of cool things. So let's say if I had an image, I could drag and drop it. So you can see this kind of editing functionality is just really cool, and it's free. I think if if it was like $200, it would still be worth it for this kind of these kinds of tools. Now, okay, so I'll take. So this was a simple starting point, but let's take a real life example. So you have a colleague, and he left, right? And for some reason he's not working anymore, and your manager says to you, okay, so we have this amazing application that your colleague made, and now you're going to maintain it. And your manager says to you, oh, you're very lucky, it's a very nice application, and you know your colleague, so you know it's not a very nice application, because it's a big mess, and he doesn't know very much coding, and just hacked everything together. So so you run the application in the browser, and this is how the application looks, and it's an online rabbit store. Okay, you can buy rabbits online. So you look at the page, and you think, oh, this is horrible. This image doesn't look so nice. It would be much better if it was a larger image. But how do you know where to find that size? It could be hard coded somewhere. It could be in a CSS file, but which CSS file? All these kinds of problems. So what you do is you connect them together. So here's that image. And now I can see immediately in bottom left, image thumb. So here it is, and I can jump into that source. And here is exactly where it is. Or there's another tool for working with CSS styles window. So you click on this, and I can see here the height and the width are immediately shown. These are the properties defined for this image. When I select this text, you can see that this updates and shows something different. So I select the button, select this image, and this updates. So now what I'm doing is I'm pressing the up arrow key. I'm not pressing save because I want to tweak this. So once I'm happy, I'll click save, but I don't want to tweak, save. I don't want to refresh the browser every time. So normally you would make a change, you would press save, you would go to the browser, you would refresh the browser. Now all I'm doing is I'm pressing the up arrow key, and the image updates live in the browser. And now this one I will also tweak. And also now I'm thinking, okay, so I'd like to see where is this actual width and height found. I go to the source. So here's the source. Finding that would have been impossible because there's widths and heights everywhere in this site. So now I can change this to, I can go here 100, and again I'm not saving, I'm not refreshing, I'm just tweaking, and now I'm happy. Now I do Control S to save it. So it's really a nice thing for doing web development. And at this point, I'm not using any Java. This is purely an HTML JavaScript solution. And what's also cool is, so then you think, okay, that's very nice, but NetBeans is very heavy, and do I need such a heavy tool for doing HTML development? But if you go to netbeans.org and you go to the download page, you will see there's different distributions, and one of them is HTML5 JavaScript, which just contains the HTML5 tools. So this is equivalent to a lightweight something like Sublime or WebStorm or something. It's a little bit slower than Sublime because it provides more features, you know, but not much slower. And again, it's free, so why not use it? So these are the really cool things, I think, the Maven stuff and the HTML stuff. But there's much more, of course, and you see a lot more. But these are two really awesome things. The next unique feature is extensibility, and you see Gaurav showing a plugin, and it's not very difficult to create basic plugins. And of course, the more complicated your use case, the more difficult it is. And the community will see that. The roadmap is online. It's when you're wondering when is the next release of NetBeans coming, that's always open information. Just go to NetBeans roadmap, and you'll see that we have a release coming out this year in August. It's a bit of a small page here, but 8.2 is going to be released in August, and next year when Java 9 is released, there'll be JDK 9. I want to show you a new feature that's coming in NetBeans 8.2. And let's see. Here it is. So there are daily builds available already, and many of the features that are planned are already found there. You can see the plans for 8.2. ECMAScript 6 more Node.js support. I'll show you Node.js in a second. PHP 7 is coming, Docker support, which is also great. So everyone's interested in Docker nowadays, so that's really nice. I'll create, wait, so I guess not this one. This one. So a nice feature that NetBeans has is, here's my index file, and I can select this, and I press Ctrl-Shift-R, and now I can do block selection across those lines. But what happens if I have these two, and I want to change this one and this one, but not that one? Okay, so that's a feature that's coming in the next release of NetBeans. Let's see if I can show it here. I'll create a new project. Wait, I have two of them here. Here's my index file. You see, I have two cursors here. Okay, I'll show it again. So let's say I have here P hello 1, 2, 3, 4. Now with block selection, Ctrl-Shift-R, I can do this, as you saw, and I can change all of those to something different. But now I'll move out of block selection. I'll select, so I'll put, there's a cursor here, and now I'm pressing Alt, Shift, and click. So now there are two cursors. Now I can go and change just those two. So it looks like a small thing, okay? But this is the most requested feature in NetBeans, multi-caret selection. And every release, people are saying, come on, guys, you know, how long has NetBeans existed? Why can't you have multi-caret selection? But it's a very deep, it means very fundamental changes to NetBeans. If you don't have that feature from the beginning, it's very difficult to change that. You have to rewrite your cursor support and everything. So I can put, I have a cursor here, and I have a cursor here, I have a cursor here, and I have a cursor here. And the developer said, the developer working on this said, well, we don't want to release it yet because there'll be a problem if you have 50 cursors in your file. And I said, if you have 50 cursors in your file, you have another problem, and you know there's something wrong with you if you want to have 50 cursors in your file. But so don't do 50 cursors yet. That's the big bug being worked on, 50 plus cursors. So let's do a find. So let's say so we do find, and I'll do search for hello, and we can also do a find with select. So if you do a find with that select button clicked on, then once you've done the find, automatically there'll be a cursor for each of the items that you found. So immediately you can change that after you found it in all those instances. So this is a big feature. One of the most important. I mean, people in that issue on Bugzilla have said, okay, that's it. I'm not going to use NetBeans anymore because you don't have this support. You don't have multi-caret support. So I'm going to use something different. Because there are so many other IDEs and editors out there, there's options. So if you're missing a feature, you can be very demanding because there'll be some other tool that provides that support. So editor multi-carets is one of the big features that's coming up. In the services window, you can see here, I have the services node. And if you're interested in Docker, you can set up a Docker here. You can see your images in your local Docker, and you can see your containers and everything here. And we'll also, in the next release after that, we'll create support for deploying a project directly to Docker from NetBeans. So all this support is definitely what we are focused on. So I've shown some really cool stuff. So for I began to really appreciate Java and the Java EE specification when I started looking at the HTML5 world. Because you know that if you're doing anything with JavaScript, it's crazy, right? There's too many choices. And it's very interesting. It's if you're a Java developer, you've had a stable environment and you've had this Java EE specs for years. And it's great because you can build reliable applications on it. But at the same time, you feel a little bit jealous of these cowboys who are using JavaScript because every week there's a new library that you can use, that you can play with, and then you start using it and you start building an application on it, and then next week you have a problem, and then you discover that library isn't being developed anymore, and then you write to that developer that was so cool last week, and he says, yeah, I'm bored about that one. I'm doing something different now, and that's. And then I began to reappreciate this Java, this Java EE, these big diagrams and these pancakes. You saw all these different specifications. And in the beginning, I thought it's so complicated. But now I think, well, it's much safer because all those different companies have discussed Java EE and they come to agreements on the specifications and things. But okay, many people are doing JavaScript now, so NetBeans has a lot of JavaScript support. So I showed you this Chrome integration, but we're focusing more and more on this area. And Oracle itself is doing a lot of JavaScript development. And this Oracle Jet project that I'll talk about later is a direct result of this problem, because Oracle wants to, internally, there are many different teams, a mobile cloud service team, IoT cloud service team, all the different cloud service teams. They all want to create UIs for their cloud services, but they all want to use the cool new stuff, JavaScript. So for 3 years, there's been this internal research about which libraries would make sense to use, and should you create everything from scratch, or should we rely on existing things? And what this JET is, JET stands for JavaScript Extension Toolkit, is Oracle's standardization on open source libraries. So Oracle JavaScript Extension Toolkit. And you can hear it's an Oracle name, because Oracle names are always boring. Like Oracle Application Developer Framework, Oracle, all these names are always very general. So, but Jet sounds nice. So, I mean, Jet itself is like, we are flying into the clouds with Jet. That's kind of, how I'm talking about it. But Oracle JavaScript Extension Toolkit is Oracle's standardization on the JavaScript libraries that are there, plus some additional stuff, additional components. I'll talk about that more in detail. But I want to show you just the Node integration, because many people are doing Node nowadays, or interested in Node. And NetBeans has nice support for that too. So I'll create a simple Node app. So here is HTML5 category. You see there's Node.js application. And so I'll create awesome server. Create a server in JavaScript. Finish. And so I think I need to get the sources. Wait, not download them, but let's see, Node.js. So just get the sources. Apply. Okay. So anyway, so here's my main JS. So I can type a node HTTP. Okay, server is finished. That's JavaScript. That's a server in Node. But what's cool is you can see that all the modules, all the Node modules are listed in code completion with the documentation. Okay, so if you're doing Node, you'll know about the Node modules. And there's many different Node modules, and each of them has documentation. You can read the documentation here. So we can put the one next to the other one. Editor, code completion, put it next to it instead of below it. So here we can see the documentation. But also, what's really cool here is that when I do code completion on this, well, I haven't got it set up correctly, but let's
It's still downloading. Yeah, it's downloading wasn't successful. Let's go and resolve the project problems. Browse. So C Node.js. That should be fine. But, yeah, I think we need to download actual node sources. But anyway, if we have the node sources downloaded, then we can see all this documentation and stuff. And also, when you do code completion on this, you will only see the functions of that particular module that you've registered. So if we are using something different here, like console, then what you would see here in the code completion would only be the functions on the console module. So there's really a nice integration like that. So that's a little bit about the HTML5, but we'll talk about this more once we look at JET. I'll talk about the different libraries that are part of that.
Geertjan, I have a question.
Yes.
If we are using any preprocessor like SAS or
yes.
something, does that live debugging also have a support of Dart cases when we are using the SAS file?
Yes. So here's my responsive rabbit. So there's a SAS category in here. CSS processors. You can register your SAS in here, and then automatically when you compile, you can say compile SAS files on save.
Okay.
So once you've registered SAS, so whenever you save your SAS file, automatically the CSS is generated. Okay. So again, it just uses SAS on the command line.
Okay.
There's also many tutorials and screenshots about, screencasts about this. I'm going to quickly move on to wrap up a little bit. Aside from the Java and the JavaScript, there's integration with anything you can think of in the Java world, especially. So Git, Mercurial, Subversion are all integrated. I use Git all the time. I have a GitHub repo. Git works perfectly. Jenkins, Hudson. There's guys from Red Hat working on OpenShift support and on Wildfly. Wildfly integration in NetBeans is done by Red Hat. Glassfish, Payara, all these different servers and version control systems and build systems are all very well integrated. I've done a bunch of demos already, edits, generated some stuff. There's more we can do, but we'll do those things as we go along. Now I want to very quickly talk about the community. So because it's an open source project and because it's all about energizing people to use Java and to use JavaScript, there's a big community around the world, and you're all part of it, and this event is part of that. I'll quickly go through those different aspects. So, social media. Let's look at NetBeans on Facebook. And this is what I mentioned before. We really focused a lot on the community and on community activities and things like that. Why can't this go away? So on the insights, likes. Wait, I can only see the comparisons. Here, somewhere here. Okay, so NetBeans, we're almost at 100,000 likes. Eclipse is about 10,000 behind, and JetBrains is about 50,000 behind. And then there's other tools and IDEs and things like that. And Twitter is similar to that, and this is really showing. See, we don't even need to put that many posts on, and we still kind of working our way up. We always try and put not too many posts on Facebook, because if you put like 15 posts in the week, then you're kind of drowning out the things. If I put something yesterday and I put 10 things today, then what I put on there yesterday is drowned by the 10 things I put today. So we try and put 2 or 3 things per week, and so that you can still see things tomorrow from the stuff from yesterday. So there's the NetBeans Facebook page that's very active, and there's a YouTube channel where there's really a lot of content about NetBeans. NetBeans videos page, NetBeans also by community members. Here's NetBeans videos. Different categories and stuff. There's Twitter. It's about 60,000 likes. And actually, if you want to Twitter about today, the Twitter to use is NetBeans Day. So if you want to tweet about anything, if you're learning anything today that you find interesting or that you want to share with other people, or or if you think NetBeans sucks, fine, also good. Please use NetBeans Day tweet. This is what we use all the time for all the NetBeans days around the world. And so if you've learned anything new, or if there's something that you hear that you find interesting, always check NetBeans every day. You see that there's tips and tricks all the time and new insights. There's a free book that you can get apparently. So always check what's going on NetBeans, on NetBeans Twitter. There's also a newsletter. Every week, more or less every week, a newsletter is released, and you get the latest tips and the latest features and things like that. You can sign up for it.
I'm actually forwarding it.
Ah, perfect. Even better. So that's kind of social media stuff. There's books, and there's actually a new book that I can recommend, partly because I wrote it. This one, it's great. I don't actually have one with me, unfortunately, but it has a lot of images of famous NetBeans people around the world. Like there's a picture of Aaron Gupta in it, and people like that. And it's a really nice beginner's guide. There's some pretty negative comments on the portraits in the book. I don't know. Some people are just so NetBeans IDE, beginning NetBeans IDE. NetBeans IDE portraits. Let's see if we can find. Yeah, here. So here is the guy who created the portraits, and the images look like this. And let's see if you can see Aaron. Here. So here's what the book looks like. Oh, somehow can't find the images. Oh, anyway, so there's pictures of many famous NetBeans users, and we're going to make more books. So this one is called Beginning NetBeans IDE for Java Developers. And so the next part in the series will be NetBeans IDE for JavaScript developers. And there'll be a book about the Chrome plugin, and about getting started, and about Node, and about Jet, and about all these different things in the next book in the series. And there's other books if you're doing NetBeans platform development. This one is very good. leanpub.com/NBP for beginners. Has anyone seen this book or used it? If you're doing NetBeans platform development, this is a great book. It's online. If you're writing software books, by the way, LeanPub is a good place, because you can keep on writing and updating it. And everyone who is and it's just PDF. It's not hard copy. So you can keep on updating it, and everyone who has bought the book automatically gets the updates. Because that's normally the problem with software. By the time the book is finished, the software has changed that you have written about. And so people buy it, and they say, but it's about Maven 5, but everyone's using Maven 6 now. And so the nice thing about PDF and this LeanPub approach is that you can continually update it, and people can continually buy it. And also, if you write a book here, you get 90% of the revenue of the book. And normally you get like 10% or something from a press or somewhere, or less than that. But here, if you sell the book for $30, you can sell the book for the same amount as you would normally, because it's still technical content. So even though it's not a hard copy book, people still value the information in the same way. So you can still sell the book for $30, but you keep 90% of the $30. And they pay you every month on your PayPal account, and it's a very nice system. Plus, if you buy a book here, you can support the author. So you can, as the author, you specify a range. You say the minimum price for the book is $30, but if you like me, you can pay up to $50. And whoever buys the book can move the slider up and down to the price that they want to pay. And you can see that people pay more because they want to support you. They pay a few dollars extra. So it's a really good system for technical books. Okay, so there's that book, and there's many other books. And please also, if you want to write books about NetBeans, please do so. It's a great way to share information. There's Netcat. I think a few people here are Netcat. You're Netcat as well? You can tell us about Netcat.
Thanks, DJ. Yeah, Netcat is actually a NetBeans community acceptance testing, wherein we can download and test nightly builds. Okay, so wherever we get, and the best thing is we can come to know, or we get to know that what is there in new. Okay, what is, or as of now, the DJ was saying that what is going to be there in 8.2. Okay, so we'll come to know. You can download that, you can test it, you can upload your reviews, you can mail your reviews. Okay, if you find some bug, you can file that bug into Bugzilla and all. Okay, and you can do a lot of things with that. So we have a huge community there. We have huge community. The manager of Netcat, Jerry Kowalski, or the DJ is also there, and so many people out there are there. Or you can again ask people to join again. One more thing I like about Netcat is that I can put in my CV that I have worked with NetBeans as a community contributor for that period. So that's again a good thing. Okay, so you can put NetBeans name in your CV. So that's again a nice thing. And the best thing I love about the Netcat program is I'll come to know what's coming new. Okay, so I can test all those things. Okay, I can suggest new features as well, and that's the best thing.
And you have direct contact with engineers.
Yes, that's the best thing. You get direct contact with all the experts all over the world. There are so many people here. James Kowalski, Haman, and so many other people here. Yes.
Perfect.
Thank you.
So and there's also NetBeans Dream Team. So maybe you can also talk about NetBeans Dream Team.
Thank you. Thanks again. Yeah, the NetBeans Dream Team is again the people who are the biggest who support a lot with NetBeans, or who have worked a lot with NetBeans. Okay, there are a few guidelines as well that how you can get into the Dream Team so easily. Yeah.
It's an exclusive society of NetBeans enthusiasts.
Yes. All over the world, I think there are only 60 people around selected still. And in India, we have only 3 people. First is Tushar Joshi, then Raj, and the last one I'm there. Okay. Yeah. We'll see. So we are looking forward to have some more people from India soon. Okay. So if you are enthusiastic about NetBeans, work on it. Yeah. Pitch for it. Okay. We do a lot of things with NetBeans as well.
Yeah. Perfect. So. That's that, and there's also a teachers organization, and again, so this is, it's a group on Google Plus. Sometimes it's very active, sometimes not, but typically, if you're a teacher at a university or a school, at some point you introduce NetBeans, and you basically describe one of the basic features, and all these people around the world are doing the same thing. So we thought, well, why don't these people share information? And explain, well, this is when I introduce. Normally, if you're a teacher at a university or a school, you don't spend 3 months talking about NetBeans. You're actually talking about Java or some programming language, but you use NetBeans as the tool for that. So you have like one session or maybe one half hour where you quickly introduce NetBeans and you give some quick tips. This is how you get started with it. These are the basic features, and so everyone kind of wonders. So what are the things I should explain? And this is a group where people share information about that. Okay, and there's a translators community. So NetBeans itself can be translated, but also tutorials and documents and things like that can also be translated into different languages. You can also sit there if you like. And there's a kids organization encouraging programming in kids, and it's a bit like DevOps for kids that you might have heard of. It's they have the same program. So It's often that when you're a developer and you have children, you want to get your children into development in an easy way. You don't want to bore them and so that they are put off from programming forever. So what you do is you take them to a session on a Saturday morning where they play Minecraft. That's it. And they're playing Minecraft for a while and they're enjoying Minecraft. But they launched Minecraft from NetBeans because it's a Java project. So they ran it from NetBeans. And the child is playing, and the father or the mother deployed the application, and they're playing and this child is playing the game. And then somebody whispers in the ear of the child, "Wouldn't you like to blow up this pig in a bigger way, or make a bigger explosion, or change the color?" And then the child says, "Yeah, okay." And then they say, "Okay, well, look, over here there's this number, and if you change this number from 5 to 500, let's see what happens." And then they make a small tweak, and they actually start hacking the code. And they say, "Okay, well, I can change this. How do I change that?" And just by playing like that, they become interested in programming. Very low key way, without big concepts and complicated abstract ideas. There's also a podcast that we do sometimes. And so this is the final part, you can be involved in all of this too. You can write articles about your favorite NetBeans features. If you're a teacher, you can write about why NetBeans is good for teaching. You can join these different communities. If you're using NetBeans in a company, we would like to promote your company. So if there's a project that you have done in a company, we'd like to do a customer case study with you. Promote the company on oracle.com. So there's, if you go to OTN, Oracle Technology Network, and there's a NetBeans section there. And here you can see all these different companies that are listed here. So we'd like to include your company on this list, and there's a PDF that describes what you do with NetBeans and things like that. Screencasts and set up events like this, create plugins. There's many different ways you can get involved. Okay, so basically what we've talked about is the whole spectrum of NetBeans. One area we've left out quite a bit is the NetBeans platform. And actually Raj mentioned this as well. On the NetBeans homepage, there's a NetBeans platform site. And because you can use NetBeans itself as the basis of your own software. And this is what NASA does, and NATO and Boeing and very large organizations create their software on top of the NetBeans infrastructure. And these applications look a bit similar to NetBeans. For example, this one. You can see it looks a little bit like NetBeans IDE, but it's an application used by a naval, by the Dutch Navy, so in the Netherlands. They have their own modeling language, and they created their own modeling tool on top of NetBeans for their own language. So this is a developer tool, but there's many other kinds of tools. This NATO air traffic control application. So NATO analyzes the airspace and sees what objects are flying there. You can see projects like in NetBeans, but their own NATO projects and this big map. But one that is interesting, and if you want to get into open source development with the NetBeans platform, this is a very nice one. This is called AgroSense. It's a farm management system in the Netherlands by a very nice guy called Timon. If you go to agrosense.eu, it's a free and open source project for farmers, because it turns out farmers don't want to buy software. That's what this company discovered. Farmers don't want to buy software. They like their notebook with their or their Excel spreadsheet at most. So what they do is they give software for free to farmers for loading in their maps and analyzing their crops and things like that. And then they load in the maps for free. They start using it. But then there's a plugin system in this application, just like in NetBeans IDE. So then they say to the farmer, well, wouldn't you like to be in contact with the potato provider? So when your potatoes are finished and you need more potatoes, you can make a connection to them. And the farmer says, yeah, sure, why not? And then they say to them, well, could you pay $2 per month to include this app in your
application. And it's a similar model to the apps, like an Android app store. You pay a monthly subscription for connection to the potato provider, and you pay a monthly subscription for connection to some other provider. And they also have a very nice plugin in this application, which connects them to tractors with sensors on the field, so that the tractor goes out into the field and takes a photo every second, and then the photos are analyzed for how much green is in the photo. And if there's lots of green, that part of the field is healthy. If there's less green, that part of the field is not healthy. And that's where they put the fertilizer. So they don't put fertilizer over the whole field and destroy the field. They just go in the parts where they have found the problems, kind of debugging the field, kind of debug system for the field. And it's all done on top in Java on top of NetBeans. So there are many applications like that as well. So what we've talked about is the philosophy of NetBeans, where it comes from Prague in the Czech Republic. It's a students' project originally. Many companies are using it. Java, HTML5 in particular, also C, C++, also PHP, also Groovy, also other languages. Vladimir is one of the people working on the C, C++ parts, the JNI and those kinds of things that you'll see later. You've seen some demos, and you've seen all the community projects. And I think we should leave it there. Are there any questions? Now that you know everything about NetBeans.
In the earlier releases of NetBeans, you were supporting Ruby on Rails also.
Yeah, Ruby on Rails was, this is a difference between Sun and Oracle. So under Sun microsystems, the idea was we want as many developers as possible. We don't care what language they use. And so at some point, Ruby on Rails is very popular. So we made this great support for Ruby on Rails in about 2005, 2006. And now Ruby on Rails is a bit less popular. But at the same time, Oracle is much more focused. Oracle wants NetBeans to be focused on Java, on JavaScript, like on some things, and not on everything. Like Sun was like everything. We want to support everything. And it's not sustainable in the long run. And so the Ruby on Rails plugin was given back to the Ruby on Rails community. And I think in a way, this is the way it should be, that NetBeans team creates the starting point and then gives the plugin to the community. So Tom Innabel from Ruby on Rails maintains that plugin. So he actually knows better than the NetBeans team does what the Ruby on Rails community needs. So he maintains that. And so if you have problems with Ruby on Rails, you write to the Ruby on Rails community. That's the idea behind it. And actually, it's on the plugin portal. Have you used Ruby on Rails in NetBeans?
Yeah. In 8.0, I was unable to use that.
Yeah, if you look on, so here's the plugin portal, pluginsnetbeans.org. If you look for Ruby, Ruby on Rails, so it should still be usable in 8.0, 8.1. If there's a problem with it, you should write to the. You can see that you should leave a comment here, in here, and or I can connect you to him. He is one of the founders of Ruby, and so that's you can leave a comment on this page. Other questions?
We're just seeing that web applications have been updated by using NetBeans.
Yeah.
Is there really something like middleware, like there is a man built EA package, WAR package, is something code change, how code changes to continuously update the EA?
Yes. So if I have my Maven project running and I make changes, automatically it will be updated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we are using this sort of like a master.
Exactly. Yeah. So there's in run here automatically you can see here deploy on save. That's set by default. So when you save automatically it's deployed. It's kind of like JRebel. JRebel is more advanced, but there's also a JRebel plugin for NetBeans. But I think JRebel goes much deeper, and if you rewrite a class or inherit from a different class, those kinds of changes.
Not even they just try to change in a class file. They will automatically update the EA package.
Yeah. But that NetBeans will do the same thing. NetBeans will do the same thing. There's a JRebel plugin that you can install if you want to use JRebel with NetBeans. It's also there.
Um,
I think Jrabble isn't a free.
there's a free version and there's a paid version. Yeah.
How do Java 8 version works in NetBeans? When I'm working with the Eclipse, I can't see some solutions like Lambda.
Yes. Okay. Yes. So this is a good question, and I'll show you. Yes, and the answer is yes. So let's take client editor. So what we can do is, and I mean NetBeans has to support that, because when Java 8 was released, there had to be tools, official tools, and one reason why Oracle supports NetBeans is because Oracle has no control over the release cycle of Eclipse. Eclipse is a different organization. Oracle can't say to Eclipse, now you must release. Oracle can't say to JetBrains, now you must release, but it can say that to NetBeans because we belong to the same organization. So in NetBeans, I go to properties here. I can say I want to use JDK 8, and now I can do a source inspect, and you can see that there are different kinds of analyzers. I'll do a single inspection. Wait, now I'll create the single inspection for use functional operations. So this is what I want to find, places where I can use the streams. Okay, so nothing's been found. There's another one with lambda expressions. If there was such a thing, so here lambda. So you see convert to lambda or member references. Okay, here. So here, this anonymous inner class can be a lambda expression. So now what I can say here is use lambda expression to change it. What I can also do is, normally I would find many of them, and I can change all of them at the same time in one go. Or what I can also do is, so let's change this to lambda expression. And now when I'm in here, if I want, I can change it back to anonymous inner class. And you can fine tune it further. So yeah, so all these kinds of inspections are included. And for Java 9, you'll see later there's also similar new features. So does that answer the question? Yeah. So streams, lambdas, all those kinds of constructs, NetBeans will find them for you, and you can change them. Maybe we should stop lunch or. Okay.